If you're working from home here in the Tri-Cities area, you already know the struggle is very, very real. So today, we're going to dive into a solution that's getting super popular, building a dedicated office right in your backyard. Let's figure out if it's the right move for you.
Does this sound familiar? You're trying to nail a really important Zoom call, but out of the corner of your eye, that pile of laundry is just staring at you. Or maybe you're trying to focus on a big report, but you can hear everything going on just down the hall. Yeah, when your kitchen table is also your office, work life and home life just kind of melt together, creating this constant background noise of stress.
You know, this quote just hits the nail on the head. It's not about how far you're going. It's all about the separation. This backyard commute, as people call it, creates this really powerful mental shift. Those 20 steps literally tell your brain, okay, it's time to work now. And then when you walk back at the end of the day, you can actually leave work behind. It's a physical boundary, and honestly, it can be an absolute game changer for your work-life balance. Okay, but let's get to the question that every single homeowner asks first. What's this going to cost me, and is it even a good investment? This is where the rubber meets the road, so let's break down the numbers.
So let's just get the biggest con out of the way right up front, the cost. I mean, a separate structure is basically a mini house project. Here in the Tri-Cities, a good, solid, basic setup is going to start at around $15,000. But if you start dreaming of those high-end finishes, maybe a bathroom, a custom HVAC system, well, that number can fly past $50,000 pretty easily. It is a serious upfront investment.
But here's the other side of that coin, and it is a huge pro. A well-built, properly permitted backyard office can actually increase your home's value by 5 to 10%. Think about that. In today's market, where so many buyers are looking for dedicated work-from-home spaces, this extra square footage can make your property really stand out and fetch a much higher price.
And this is the crucial part, so listen up. Not all backyard buildings are the same. To get that 5 to 10% boost, an appraiser has to see it as finished square footage. That means it's built to code, it's permitted, and it has heating and cooling. Just plopping a cheap shed back there won't add any value and, frankly, might even make your home look worse. All right, so we've talked about the money. Now let's get into the actual blueprint. What does it really take to turn that patch of grass in your backyard into a super productive workspace? Well, this involves some pretty big decisions and, you guessed it, a few hurdles you need to know about.
So the first big choice you have to make is, do you do it yourself or do you hire a pro? Look, going the DIY route can definitely save you a lot of money if you've got the skills. But making a mistake on something critical, like the foundation or the roof, oof, that could end up costing you way more to fix later on. Hiring a licensed contractor here in Tennessee costs more, sure, but what you're really paying for is their knowledge of all the local codes and, honestly, the peace of mind that it's just done right. And please, whatever you do, do not forget about all the invisible work. This is the stuff that's absolutely essential but so easy to overlook. You can't just run an extension cord across the lawn. You need to dig a proper trench for your power and internet cables, which, let me tell you, is not easy in our rocky clay soil here in East Tennessee. This conduit protects the lines and it has to be done correctly. Plus, you have to think about drainage to make sure your new office doesn't cause a flood in your main house. This hidden work adds a ton of cost and complexity to the project. And before you even think about picking up a shovel, you've got to deal with the rules. Every city has them. You'll need to know the setback rules. That's how far the building has to be from your property line. You'll also have to check lot coverage limits to make sure you're not building too much on your property. And oh yeah, if you've got an HOA, you can bet they're going to have an opinion on everything from the paint color to the roofing material. This slide gives you a little snapshot of just how much things can change from town to town. As you can see, the permit costs and the size limits, they're different in Johnson City, Kingsport, and Bristol. And pay really close attention here. Even if your office is small enough to avoid a full-on building permit, you almost always still need a zoning permit to make sure you're putting it in the right place. So rule number 1, always check with your local planning department first.
The foundation is literally what your entire investment rests on. And in our region, with our heaving soil that shifts with moisture and frost, this is a super critical choice. While skids or blocks are cheaper, a concrete slab is by far the most stable and permanent option. It just makes the space feel like a real room, and it adds the most long-term value to your property. That's why it's the most popular choice.
Okay, let's switch it up and do a quick rapid-fire round. I'm going to tackle some of the most common questions people ask when they start thinking seriously about a project like this.
This is a big one, and it's a huge decision. Putting a bathroom out there can drive up the cost and the complexity more than almost anything else. So, is it worth it?
The straightforward answer is it's incredibly expensive. I mean, running plumbing, both water and sewer lines, that means deep trenches, more permits, and a lot of labor costs. Because of that, most homeowners decide to save the money and just walk those 20 steps back to the main house when they need to. All right, now for a question with some potentially great news for your wallet. Can you get a tax break for this whole project? So, the answer is often yes. If the space is used exclusively and regularly for your business, you can typically deduct a portion of the costs, which can be a major financial plus. But, and this is really important, tax laws are tricky. You should absolutely consult with a local tax professional to make sure you're doing everything by the book and getting the biggest deduction you can. So, we've gone over the mental benefits, the financial reality, all the construction hurdles, and the legal red tape. Now it's time to put it all together and give the final verdict. Ultimately, the decision really comes down to this core trade-off. On the pro side, you get that amazing mental separation and focus, a real boost in your home's value, and a space you can customize however you want. But on the con side, you've got that high upfront cost, the undeniable hassle of a construction project, and the simple fact that you're giving up some of your precious yard space. So you've just got to ask yourself, is the benefit of a focused, separate workspace worth the investment and all the effort? For a lot of people who are working from home full-time, the answer is a big, resounding yes. It's an investment in your property and in your own sanity. So is your perfect 20-step commute waiting for you right in your own backyard? Definitely something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.